6 real cases where people vanished without a trace. Some disappearances are simple. A person goes missing, and eventually, there are answers. But not these. These are cases where people vanished and left behind nothing. No clear evidence, no confirmed explanation. Just questions that have remained unanswered for years, sometimes decades. And the deeper you look into these stories, the less sense they make. 1. Lars Mittank. In 2014, Lars Mittank, a 8-year-old from Germany, traveled to Bulgaria with a group of friends for what was supposed to be a normal vacation. At first, everything went as planned, but near the end of the trip, something changed. After getting into a minor altercation with a group of locals, Lars began acting strangely. He told his friends that he felt uneasy, like someone was watching him. They didn't take it seriously, but Lars did. He stayed behind while his friends returned home, saying he needed to visit a doctor for an ear injury. That's when things started to spiral. In a phone call with his mother, Lars sounded terrified. He told her he believed he was being followed, that the people he had argued with were after him. His voice wasn't calm, it wasn't casual. It sounded like genuine fear. The next morning, Lars arrived at the airport, and what happened next is one of the most disturbing airport recordings ever captured. CCTV footage shows Lars pacing nervously inside the terminal. He suddenly looks up as if he's seen something. Then, without warning, he drops his belongings, sprints out of the airport, runs across the parking lot, climbs over a fence, and disappears into a nearby forest. No one chased him, no one stopped him, and no one has ever seen him again. Search teams combed the area. There were sightings reported over the years, but nothing confirmed. No body, no trace. Just one question. What did Lars see in that moment that made him run for his life? 2. The Isdal woman. In 1970, 2 hikers walking through a remote valley in Norway stumbled upon something disturbing: the burned remains of a woman. At first glance, it appeared to be a suicide, but the deeper investigators looked, the stranger it became. The woman had no identification. Every label on her clothing had been carefully removed. When police tracked her belongings, they discovered suitcases hidden in a nearby train station. Inside were wigs, sunglasses, clothing, and coded notes. Even more unsettling, she had been traveling across Europe using multiple fake identities. Hotels reported that she checked in under different names, often requesting rooms with a view of entrances, as if she was monitoring who came and went. Witnesses described her as secretive, always alert, constantly observing her surroundings. It didn't feel like tourism, it felt like something else. Some investigators suspected she may have been involved in espionage during the Cold War. Others believe she was running from something. But here's the reality. Her true identity has never been confirmed. No family has come forward. No government has claimed her. It's as if she never existed. And whatever she was involved in, she took it with her. 3. Rupkund Skeleton Lake. High in the mountains of Uttarakhand, India, there is a lake unlike any other. Rupkund Lake. At first, it looks like a peaceful, frozen body of water, but beneath the ice lie hundreds of human skeletons. They were first discovered in 1942, scattered around the lake. Some still had flesh and hair preserved by the cold. Naturally, theories began to form. Was it a battle? An epidemic? A mass suicide? For years, no one knew. Then researchers made a disturbing discovery. Many of the skulls showed signs of blunt force trauma, as if the victims had been struck from above. One theory suggests that a sudden, violent hailstorm hit a group of travelers, with ice chunks so large they crushed skulls instantly. But that only explains part of it, because DNA testing revealed something even stranger. The skeletons didn't all belong to the same group. Some were from completely different regions and time periods separated by centuries. Different people from different times, dying in the exact same place. So the question remains, why does this lake keep collecting bodies? 4. The Solder Children. On the night of December 24th, 1945, The Sauter family was celebrating Christmas in their home in West Virginia. Everything was normal until just after midnight, the house caught fire. The flames spread quickly. George and Jenny Sauter managed to escape with 4 of their children, but 5 of them were still inside. They tried everything to get back in, but it was impossible. The house burned to the ground. It was assumed the 5 children had died in the fire, but when investigators searched the ashes, they found nothing. No bones, no remains, nothing that confirmed the children had been inside. That alone was strange, but it didn't stop there. In the weeks that followed, the family noticed disturbing details. A ladder that was usually kept outside had been moved. The phone line had been cut. A witness later claimed to have seen the children being taken away in a car that night. Years later, the family received a photograph in the mail. It showed a young man who looked strikingly similar to one of the missing sons. On the back was a cryptic message. The Sauter parents believed their children had survived and had been taken, but no one ever found them. 5. The Yuba County 5. In 1978, 5 young men attended a basketball game in California. They were excited, happy, looking forward to a tournament the next day, but they never made it home. Their car was later discovered abandoned, far up a remote mountain road, nowhere near their intended route. There was no reason for them to be there. The car wasn't damaged. It had gas. They could have easily driven away, but they didn't. Months later, search teams made a grim discovery. In a nearby forest, the remains of some of the men were found. One of them had taken shelter in a cabin. Inside the cabin was food, supplies, enough to survive. And yet, he barely used them. He slowly starved to death, surrounded by resources. Others were never found at all. No one knows why they drove into the mountains. No one knows what happened after they got there, and no one can explain the decisions they made. 6. The Hinterkaifeck murders. In 1922, a small family lived on an isolated farm in Germany, far from neighbors and help. Days before their deaths, they reported something unsettling. Footsteps in the attic, unfamiliar sounds in the house. They even found footprints in the snow leading toward the farm, but none leading away. Then, one by one, the family members were lured into the barn and murdered. What happened next is what makes this case truly disturbing. In the days after the murders, neighbors noticed smoke coming from the chimney. The animals were being fed. Someone had been living there, inside the house, with the bodies. The killer stayed for days, maybe longer, and then, just like that, they vanished. No suspects were ever confirmed. No one was ever caught, and the identity of the person who lived in that house remains a mystery. Outro. 6 cases, 6 disappearances, and still, no answers. Maybe the truth is hidden somewhere in the details. Or maybe some things were never meant to be explained. Because these people didn't just go missing. They vanished without a trace.